The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Soccer to the Max, as we got a lot to talk about here on this weekend edition. Of course, MLS still playing one game. It says Seattle is playing Houston right now. We are not talking about that game because all of us need to sleep. And, MLS, maybe you shouldn't have a game at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. That would be, most ideal. But anyway, aside from that, you got both U.S. men's national teams playing Venezuela, and both of them not looking very good in said games. The 40-man preliminary Gold Cup roster, and of course NWSL's final weekend before they go on a 2-week break for international duty as well. So I'm your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, as usual, Mr. Erik Watkins.
Ted Uncle is stupid and an idiot. And no, I'm not bitter, and I've only had one drink tonight. So, yeah, there's that. Don, you're lucky we decided to do this early. Otherwise, I would have had a second. I've invented a good concoction.
And always glad to have her on, Miss Rachael McKriger.
I don't really know how to follow up after that, but I think I officially hate Bruce Arena, and we will get there later.
Uh-oh, hating on Bruce Arena talk. That should fire up some either some love or some hate pretty quick here. So before we get into the why Rachael hates Bruce Arena and other disappointing things from this weekend, might as well talk about the Major League Soccer action, which I think there's a couple of talking points that I have. If you guys have anything else, feel free. But there were some comfortable wins here. Sporting KC beat Minnesota 3-0. New England beat Toronto 3-0 due to Toronto missing, some national teamers that are quite important. And Vancouver also beat Atlanta 3-1. And, Portland blanked San Jose earlier as well. So anything you guys want to talk about from there?
I mean, what was going on with Atlanta?
I was just about to say that. Give it to Portland. I mean, wow.
Yeah, weird. I mean, hey, I said Vancouver when they were at home. It's a little different, and Atlanta just go ahead.
It's weird to see that Greg Garza was the one that scored for Atlanta.
Yeah, Miguel Almirón has this great scoring streak going on, and he can't do anything here.
Well, that's because everybody on Vancouver knew, hey, we need to stop that guy. And, well, they did.
So who put the goals in for Vancouver? Was it
Kendall Waston and Freddie Montero.
Oh, Montero's still doing his thing. I apologize in advance. I really didn't get. I'll be able to talk more about when we get to national team stuff. I had a lot going on today. The family is leaving for a trip and everything, and I had to get things in order because I got to be basically by myself with Anaya for a week and get all the who's taking her when and all this stuff to school. She's got her last week of school this week and all that, so lots going on. But so these two will be talking more about that on that end. I'm just going to lead them through the week. So anything, it looked like Sporting was pretty comfortable in New England's as well. Minnesota, after continuing their up and down season so far.
I feel too vindicated even to do the Minnesota accent, but yeah, that kind of scoreline just made sense to me.
I think I said, what did I say? I was giving Minnesota the win. I look terrible now. I need to. What happened? I lost that. See, this happens all the time. I lost that envelope now that I had the scores on. Oh well, dang it. One of these days I will write it in the actual computer so I can't lose anything. But
Yeah,
anyway,
'cause you need to go back and do some of our updated point standings.
that requires me to actually go back and listen to old podcasts, which having the fine time to do that is also a challenge sometimes. But damn it, I'll find it later when I'm not looking for it and go, God, I hate myself right now. But anyway, you had the FC Dallas whooping Real Salt Lake badly. Jesus Ferreira, David Ferreira's son, even scored his first ever goal at 16 years old. He joins a short list of players that have scored that young in MLS. So that's pretty amazing. I wanted to bring this. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was going to bring this up because this is Real Salt Lake in the last two games against both Texas teams by a scoreline of 11-3.
Yeah, can I quote what might have happened in the RSL locker room at the intermission?
Go ahead.
You call yourselves soccer players? You call a bunch of idiots! 5-0 and it's only half time!
Well, Mike Petke says he is appalled by what he saw on the pitch and that now everybody is going to be fighting for spots going forward. I feel like this is the wrong time to be doing that, but do you think that Mike Petke deserves the whole season, or if they keep going down this road, you gotta cut cut him loose again?
Oh, I don't think you can.
No,
I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, because that's a very terrible, terrible look. Because you can't just think for this season, you've got to think for next season as well. And who are you going to get in if, again, you've got 3 coaches in the span of a year?
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm just saying, we could see desperation happen from the ownership group and go, okay, well, this guy's not connecting. Something's going on. I definitely do think that, look, if you keep losing this badly where the other team's scoring 5, 6, 4 goals on you and you're not really doing much in return, at some point they look at because you can't really do much with the players. What are you going to do, start releasing players?
Probably. Would that be terrible?
But it doesn't happen that way. You don't release the players in the middle of the season.
Yeah, but maybe you kind of need to start because something's got to give. And again, you figure, maybe if you kind of trim a little bit of dead weight, then you present yourselves a better opportunity of luring someone in going forward. Look at what happened somewhat inadvertently in Chicago.
Yeah, to be fair, though, they always had him on the radar, and they just went after him like there was no tomorrow. I don't know that Real Salt Lake has that same look for a certain player and are going to be able to get him because at least Chicago had pieces in place.
True, and you could say RSL has some pieces in place as well, but yeah, it would help if RSL did have someone on their radar, but you're not going to have, even if you do, you're not going to be able to get them there unless you spruce things up.
Yeah,
What
I
do you?
mean, players aren't really going to be attracted to like a team that is losing and doesn't have any problems. I mean, oh my gosh, I totally like lost my train of thought. That is losing and doesn't really have a sense of promise, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are right about that. It's just, I mean, I saw some chatter about it on Twitter from soccer pundits of how long is this going to go, and is Mike Petke going to get a leash at some point of you better start getting results like you were at the beginning, and that's the thing too. They were getting results at the beginning, and
They
then
were
all of a
getting
sudden,
results at the Well, they were getting results at the beginning because he was a new voice. New voices are only shining and new for so long.
I should point out that I think RSL has like 4 players at the U.S. Under-20s that are about to head back, so maybe that helps. Namely Brooks Lennon, who's looked good for the U.S. team, and Justin Glad as well. So maybe that helps, but
And
I don't know that those 2 players were the sole reason.
I think going back to the coaching thing too, I mean, yeah, there's a short leash, but I think when you're talking about a short leash, that really comes into play during the next season. Like right now, he's working with a group of players that he didn't even put together. He took over, and somebody else had already built his roster for him. So there's also that comes into play too.
Yeah, you're right about that. It's. I hope no. Literally, I'm not asking this because I want them to give him until next season. I just worry about if this continues this badly, do they overreact and go, okay, we're gonna have to do something here.
I mean, I could see them overreacting, giving their position, but I think they also have to understand overreacting at this point of the season could have some pretty major consequences.
Yeah, you're totally right. They just. I mean, look, there's still plenty of games left. We're talking about what, week 14 here of 34. You still got many games left. If you at least in your last 10 start doing positive things, I think that leads you into looking at next season better than you are right now. Everybody goes through a slump. It's just that this is the same thing we talked about, I think, before the season started. Who was going to score for this team because they didn't have anybody. Saborio retired. I mean, he was their guy. And then you just all of a sudden know you're João Plata and like some young kids. It's not enough.
No, and I don't know what it is about the mountain air, but it doesn't translate to goals. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's just, the altitude is not their friend right now. And it just, like I said, 11 goals given up in the last 2 games. Not good. Hopefully things can, get better. But it's just, if your coach is talking about players are fighting for spots in the middle of the season, not a positive sign right now. The other thing that I saw brought up a lot here is for the second consecutive game, Colorado grinds one out. It was 1-0 against Sporting KC. It was 2-1 here against Columbus at home. And people are, complaining to Pablo Mastroeni, hey, look at all these stats that show that you're getting outpossessed, that you're people, it looks like you're just going out there and wanting to defend and hold court and not really want to do anything going forward. What's going on? Look at these passing stats, and he says, frankly, that he doesn't care about all these analytics. He just wants to make sure that nobody's going to break them down. They're going to be a defensive team, and they're going to do what they've been doing, which is the whole hey, if we get a draw, we get a draw. If we get a goal, we're going to hold onto that goal, and that's what we're doing. I mean, it's not positive play, obviously, but how do you feel about just having a very pragmatic team here in what Mastroeni wants to do?
I mean, I gotta go back to 5, maybe 6 years ago, probably a little bit longer. It was Sir Alex Ferguson, one of his last couple of years at Manchester United. At a point during this season, they went on an 11-match winning streak. Keep that in mind. 11 in a row. 7 of those happened to be 1-0 wins. Everybody complained the same thing. Oh, you're going out there, you're parking the bus, you're waiting, you're not creating few opportunities, you're sitting back, waiting for things to happen. What happened? United went on to win the title. Everybody shut up. At this point, if I'm Mastroeni, I agree. If it's getting results, which it's starting to, then you shut up and you enjoy the ride. Maybe this carries us into the playoffs. Because I think if it does, people are going to stop complaining.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's what, it's the same thing with Mourinho, right? People don't like the way that, I'm personally not the biggest fan of the way that he decides to trot out Manchester United every week. I'm glad that they won Europa League and they're in the Champions League next season and all that stuff as a, supporter and all that. But I'll be honest, I'd much rather see them, playing that free-flowing, pretty soccer, And I think that's what kind of gets people as analytics is built more towards that. When you're not playing soccer to play it the way that, we're used to seeing it, and you're being much more, I guess, old school in your approach, it kind of, those analytics don't show everything. So the media gets up there, starts complaining, and Mastroeni's like, dude, I'm winning. What the hell are you guys complaining about?
Exactly. Everybody's been spoiled by Jogo Bonito, but not every team is built for that style. People have got to understand that.
So where do you, do you think stats are overrated then? Do we pay attention to that too much now in soccer? Of going, oh my God, they passed 1,000 times. That means they're a great team.
To an extent, because while stats do tell quite a lot as far as how the game goes and what you can expect, there's a lot of intangibles. Everybody was caught up for the possession statistics for Spain back in 2010 when they won the World Cup. Me, I could not stand it. I think the Nuevo Falso is stupid. It's boring. It's ineffective. It puts me to sleep. And when I am awake, I feel like punching people. But statistically, they were a superior team. They wound up winning, and yes, they won ugly, and sometimes you just have to deal with it. You're gonna win ugly.
Yeah, and winning ugly is not bad, right, Rachel?
I mean, if it gets 3 points, it gets 3 points. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, Montreal beat the Red Bull. DC and the Galaxy drew at 0. Not surprising for DC to not get any goals, honestly.
Because people don't give a crap about RFK. And I still get annoyed by that.
I'm telling you, man, they can't wait to get out of there fast enough, and you keep advocating that they need to just redo RFK.
Yeah, look, and I'm saying, okay, if you want to get out of there, fine. But can you at least give RFK a good send-off? Hell, I could go out there at 5'9", 170 at the age of nearly 31 and put on a better performance than that. You're professionals, people. Damn it, act like it.
Damn.
No,
There
I'm
you
not
go.
bitter or angry or anything.
I'm
He just
pretty
loves
sure
RFK.
he loves RFK. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that just want to see DC play a hell of a lot better than they have been. Just, I just,
I bet you dollars to donuts they're going to stink up Audi Field just like this, and then everybody's going to be complaining about that.
oh
I'm
no,
just going to
because they'll
sit
start
back on
spending
top
money
of
on the
lap.
team when they have Audi Field because they want to put the best foot forward and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'll believe it when I see it.
Hey, isn't that how that worked for Orlando? Look, they can get a scoreless draw, and they lost 2 players.
Yes, because Orlando actually cared. And guess what? They actually cared when they were in the Citrus Bowl. Don't even get me started. They're like, you know what? We're here. We're going to do this. Why? Because, damn it, we're awesome. Even when the referee is against us, we still forge through for our fans.
Yeah, I think that says a lot right there. Even our good pal Bastian Schweinsteiger couldn't do anything.
Ha! I still give him tremendous respect, though. He tried. He failed, but he tried.
And that's what matters.
Well, I mean, that's they do take a little break here for, till next weekend, but they don't play as many games next weekend because of the international games going on. But hey, speaking of, we do need to get to some international soccer talk here. The U.S. men's national senior team go and play Venezuela to a 1-1 draw. Christian Pelusa gets the equalizing goal in the 61st minute off the only actual probably good thing Fabian Johnson did in that game.
Easy.
No, I'm not. It's maybe not his fault because Bruce Arena decided he needs to play on the right instead of the left, which is stupid. But that's not the only issue I think I had with this game. Is John Brooks hurt himself, and he also looked really bad when he was trying to he couldn't clear the ball, which led to the goal that Venezuela scored. That seems to be a theme for the U.S. men's national team. I don't know what's going on, but you have all these center backs that are tall, and you can't clear on set pieces. What is wrong with you? Bruce Arena, come on, man.
Lack of practice?
These guys play every week. You have to clear for your club team too. I mean, this isn't rocket science. I mean, come on.
Look, I can't explain anything. I got A, I got B. It ain't equaling C. It's more like Q. Don't look at me over here.
And Michael Bradley might as well have been made up a 5-man backline because that's how deep he was. That doesn't work. He cannot be that deep. You can't have a hole the size of the Grand Canyon in midfield the entire time.
Okay, did Arena intentionally try this formation because of Venezuela's speed? Because if he did, we're going to be kind of screwed.
I mean, I just don't understand that. Pulisic stays up the whole time, which that's fine. That's what he does. But you can't have Michael Bradley. He's going to be in front of them, but he's going to be way back there. And I think that he's not this, Klinsmann tried to make him into this playmaker. And he's not that. He's not a playmaker. He's not this deep-lying midfielder that, he's not Pirlo. And they need to stop trying to make him do that because he takes too long to think about what he's doing. You need to make fast decisions. All right, I'm going here. I'm going there. He takes he moves the ball up 2 or 3 times and then goes, all right, I'm going to kick it now, or I'm going to make this pass. It's got to be much faster, the decisions coming here. I get it that playing international is different than playing with your club, and you got to get used to playing with different people and all that. But it bothers me. It's a theme I keep seeing.
Hey, you're not going to get any arguments from me on that one.
I mean, go ahead.
The thing that bothered me the most throughout the match was that, I mean, nobody really talked about how well DeAndre Yedlin did coming back. And I think him coming back was something that the team needed. But still not named on the Gold Cup roster. But we will get to that, and I can be salty later.
Yeah, that's true. I think he's great. They need him there. That you need that right back that can go forward and go backwards, play the box to box. He's been terrific for them. He was terrific for Newcastle this season. I think I don't know why they got to play Fabian Johnson out of position, because he looked out of place there every time. On the right, he looked out of place. He plays on the left.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only time that he looked fine was on the pass to the goal, because he was on the left. Yeah. And other than that, he looked bad on the corner clearances. When he would get the ball, it's like he just didn't seem like himself. I don't know. Between him and Michael Bradley, they just weren't having a great day.
I think the funny thing that I can't stand fair weather fans, and I went on Twitter, which was probably a horrible mistake during the game.
Probably.
And, everyone was tweeting like, Fabian Johnson should be playing at a left back for how bad he's playing tonight. No, he just shouldn't play at the right midfield. If he's playing on the right side for anything, he's playing at right back. Put him in the left mid. I would be shocked, and I know I'm probably going to get some disagreements here. I'd be shocked if he was not in the starting lineup on Thursday.
Oh, you mean if he doesn't play?
Like, if he doesn't start, I think he should start, but on the left.
I think he should, too. What do you... who did they have on the left this time? I don't know if it's just... But he doesn't want to put... Yeah, it was Nagby, and,
Oh, don't even get me started.
He was actually decent in that game, going forward. Again, the problem with him again is the passes in the final third. They aren't there. That was the main issue, is that Clint Dempsey was invisible in that game. Bobby Wood didn't look like himself, because he has time that he hasn't really played. Josie came in late, so they didn't want to start him. And yeah.
It was. I agree that there was too much of a hodgepodge, but I don't know. Maybe I've seen too much of Nagby at Portland, but I really didn't expect him to make the passes in the final third. I expected him to link up with someone else and then try to get it up that way, but I really don't think he expected to be that guy to make those kinds of decisions either.
Yeah, and then, when you're relying on... Christian Pulisic was fine, he has times where he's great as the playmaker, or he's great as the guy that you give him the ball and he makes the play like he did for the goal, but then there's times where he's very erratic. So, because he gets lost in that, where does he need to be, positioning sense, and I don't know. I wonder if you have to play a different formation, he gets put out on the wing, and different deal for him there. I don't know. Where do you think that they're using him right, as far as in that spot of trying to make him be the number 10?
I think he's too young and inexperienced, because there's all this talk about Christian Pulisic, but I think he only has 14 caps now. I don't think he's quite ready for that number 10 position.
He does have 5 goals in those caps, so that's a positive.
True, True, but I mean, and as Rachel said this quite some time ago, back on one of our earlier shows, for him to be at the number 10, you almost have to build a formation around him. And I agree. I think he's too young for that kind of pressure.
I agree.
Especially like with, because, we'll get to it again, but he was named to the Gold Cup roster, and, those are all a bunch of, and granted, he is fast, but these South American teams are going to be a lot faster than he is, so I think there's an issue there, too.
I think that's more about making sure he gets playing time with the U.S. team because he's young, and that's a different case than perhaps having some of these older players from Europe where you don't necessarily need them in that spot per se. But I think he's been great for how young he is, how great he's been at his club team. And then to come into the U.S. national team and provide that spark, so just like you guys have been saying, you got to try to find something and build it around him. And look, let's be honest, this wasn't like the greatest performance from the U.S. team either. There was times where they looked really lethargic and just looked like they didn't care. It's a friendly before games that matter. We have to put that out there. I will say Matt Hedges. When he came in, he looked really good. The defense, for the most part, looked organized, other than in the spots, on set pieces where they didn't look good. And then Tim Howard was his rock solid self. So there was positives here.
I like Matt Hedges a lot better than I like Walker Zimmerman.
Agreed.
I will agree with you there. They play well in tandem, but Hedges is Defensive Player of the Year in MLS for a reason. So, we need to talk about this before we get to the thing that Rachel wants to rant about here. The Under-20 World Cup team lost to Venezuela. They did not look particularly good at all against Venezuela. To be fair, this is where that whole 2 days rest thing comes into play. And this is something that, FIFA needs to make sure that they fix for, I don't know if you can do anything under 17s wise, so that's already set, but make sure for the World Cup, you don't have this problem because it's very, very unfair for a team like Venezuela that is absolutely killer on speed, and you're going to make the U.S. team have to play with 2 days less rest. Credit to them for extending it all the way to extra time. But they just never looked really in it. I mean, from minute one, they could have been scored on a set piece. There was about 5 or 6 other set pieces they could have been scored on. In fact, one of them led to the second goal. The U.S. got a really kind, like that goal that went in, which is the only goal that's gone in against Venezuela. They had to use the goal line technology to show that it went in. And credit to Tat Ramos for making some changes. If Ubase came in and replaced Sargent, and they actually just went more direct and finally figured out, okay, well, we need to occupy more of these Venezuela players so we have more space to let some of our wingers come in and do something. Because they just couldn't do anything offensively because you had even the Venezuela forwards would come back and try to dispossess the U.S. on the ball. So I think for me it's give a lot of credit to this team for getting better as the tournament went on. Obviously, South American opposition is their bogey team because they had the problem with Ecuador at the beginning as well. I think obviously it's a positive when you get to quarterfinals back-to-back like that in consecutive World Cups, but I would have loved to see them advance. But it just sucks to see that, like, you get to a certain spot where you just get completely outplayed, and I wish we could get to a point for the U.S. team where that wasn't the case.
Well, and I said this before the tournament started. It's a fantastic team, a talent-rich team, but yes, I do give credit to Tab Ramos, but this is the time you go all the way back to 89. This is where the U.S. under-20s just seems to max out. Now, granted, it was against them this time, as you said, because of scheduling, but again, you come off of beating mailmen in training 6-0. Do you really call that legit opposition? So,
To be fair,
kudos.
the U.S. team has lost to the eventual champion now 3 times in a row. So,
Exactly.
or twice in a row, and Venezuela could definitely put up a case for making it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, especially going up against Uruguay. But I mean, I don't know. It's just they performed as I expected. While yes, I would be right behind you and seeing them go even farther. It's like, you're not going backwards. And I like the fact that you're not going backwards.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, you keep Todd Ramos around. Jurgen Klinsmann was I guess a good luck charm for the team because his son got better as the tournament went on. He was really good in the Venezuela game. He made some big saves, kept the team in it. So props to him for having that gaffe of a first game and then just getting better as it went on. So, yeah, let's talk about something that I know Rachael really wants to get into, this 40-man Gold Cup preliminary roster with 6 goalkeepers, one of them being Jesse Gonzalez, who, if he plays, is cap tied to the United States national team, and I couldn't be happier because not only did he just re-sign with FC Dallas, he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and put him in that short list of guys that we could be looking at as the future. But yeah, I mean, I know that's not what Rachael wants to talk about here, but also Dom Dwyer being in, awesome. I hope he makes the 23. But yeah, you want to argue about something else here.
I don't understand Bruce Arena's mindset. He has very little European-based players, and his reasoning in blunt terms is incredibly ridiculous. He has said, I saw this from Jeffrey Carlisle, ESPN's Jeffrey Carlisle. He said, Arena had said that he wants to give his European players rest. Doesn't really make sense to me because there are European players right now in World Cup qualifying. European players played in the 2015 Gold Cup. European players played in the 2014 World Cup. And there's a difference there because that's a June tournament and this is a July tournament. What is he going to say come the World Cup next year? I'm going to leave a lot of abroad players off because they, quote unquote, need rest. They're professionals. They are trained to play as much as they play. Clearly, I'm not happy about John Brooks, Fabian Johnson, Bobby Wood, DeAndre Yedlin, Jeff Cameron all being left off the roster. Those are very key players and key players that you need to have. I'm still upset that Danny Williams continues to be overlooked by Bruce Arena and the U.S. men's national team. And not really understanding how Paul Areola still continues to get called up. But I guess if there was one thing I do like, well, 2 things, I guess, on the roster, I do like the addition of Jesse Gonzalez, and I hope he is cap-tied. I wish there was a female Jesse Gonzalez so the U.S. women's national team could finally have their, stuff sorted together at their goalkeeper position. But that's another story for next week's podcast. And I like the addition of Jonathan Spector because I thought he's done really well with the Orlando I almost said Orlando City B because the Riverhounds play them this week. So Orlando City FC. So again, Erik, kudos to your Orlando City B for getting the win over my Hounds.
At least someone won, so I'll take that. And they finished with 11.
Surprisingly, yes. I also like the fact that oh my gosh, who was the player that I'm just thinking? I can't think of who it is right now. I need to look at the list, but there was another player listed on there that I liked, aside from Dom Dwyer, because I like that he was listed on there too. I can't think of it. Get back to me.
Please, stop. You know what, Bruce Arena? Stop calling Brad Guzan. He shouldn't be in this thing.
Thank you!
I hope he doesn't. Look, this is fine. It's for training. He kind of needs to play something. But
damn, even if it is for training, Atlanta
please don't. Please don't.
Didn't want him.
Please don't put him on the final roster. Take Tim Howard. If it were me, I would take Tim Howard, Jesse Gonzalez, and Joe Bednick and leave it at that. Maybe Bill Hamid if you want to, but after he had, I can't believe we forgot to talk about the absolute gaffe that Bill Hamid had in the midweek where he had one go off his hands into the goal. But
okay, look, I have moved on. If I can move on from the hand of Claude, so can everyone else.
I just wanted to bring that up because it's funny. But yeah, I mean, a lot. It's the defend. I like the defenders that we have here. A lot of them are the Jonathan Spector is awesome. I'm glad he's in here. You get Eric Lehigh from Nottingham Forest, which we don't get to see too often. I'm not worried so much about the defenders because you have some pretty good ones in MLS. I get it. When you play Mexico in the final, that's a whole different story. And remember, they can make 6 changes when you get to the, after the group stage, which for the U.S., the group stage is a non-issue. That's an automatic, you better win the group with no problems because you are the United States, and this is how far we have come at this point. But, I mean, I also Christian Roldan getting called up is cool because he could, another guy that now can help out the national team as far as he could have played for somebody else, but then doesn't. I don't know that he'll make the team, but it's cool that Tommy McNamara's in here too. We don't get to see him too often in here, but everybody else is sort of people that you see all the time.
You're not going to win a tournament with a bunch of MLS guys. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like Gold Cup you should be able to. It's your confederation.
Okay, but still, you should be able to, and I've mentioned this. I've gone over that roster. I can't put together an MLS 11 that can beat Mexico in the final. Because, again, you take a look at our best MLS players, even from some of our best MLS clubs. You take a look at the best Mexican players from the best Liga MX clubs. Sorry, they one-up us. I mean, look at CONCACAF Champions League. Probably going to be the same result in the Superliga. No, this could be another trip to the woodshed for the U.S. And then, as you mentioned, not hinging everything on one Gold Cup, guess what? Now you're going to have to hinge everything on 2019 to try to win the CONCACAF
hold on.
Cup.
We're complaining here, but the 6 changes you could make are the players that Rachael just mentioned that weren't in the squad. And then what are we talking about?
But will he?
Yeah, why are you relying on him making those 6 changes when
because you don't need them for the group stage. You don't need them for the group stage. What a waste of time for them.
How?
They need rest. They need to rest. Let them rest for a part of the tournament you don't need them in. And then then in the knockout stages, you bring in a Fabian Johnson and a John Brooks and everybody else, and you go win the thing.
You say the group stage is a non-issue. Let's look at Bruce Arena's mentality. Say we wind up getting a 100% record, 9 points, and a goal difference of, say, +8. Do you really think that he isn't going to just let it ride with that team simply because, hey, we're doing fantastic. We don't need them for the knockout stage after all? That's a legit possibility.
That's not okay. It is a legit possibility. But no, he's going to make changes because that's what you do. All the coaches do that. Not to mention, there's going to be some of these players like an Erik Lehigh or Christian Pulisic, which their teams might decide, you know what, I want to take them back, and they don't. And so some of the other international players can come in. What I'm saying is, you're playing Nicaragua and Martinique. Give me a frickin' break. Do you need Fabian Johnson and all these guys for that? No. Come on. The only person you're scared of is Panama, maybe. That should be 9 points with no problem.
I don't know. Given Panama in recent history, I'm not scared, but I'm a little anxious.
Even if you get 7, that still wins you the group. I'm just saying, 7. It's just, I understand why Rachael is upset, and I get also buying a ticket to want to go see these players and all that stuff. But I get Bruce Arena in that sense. You don't need them until the knockout round, so why not let them?
I get what you're saying, but if he doesn't make those 6 changes and it's not those players, U.S. is in some trouble.
Okay, I will agree with you there. And please, Dom Dwyer needs to make this team. I don't care about... Bring an extra forward if you have to.
Dwyer, knowing how Bruce Arena's playing this, I have good confidence that Dwyer's going to make the team. But at the same time, again, Arena's leaving way too many question marks. I'm not liking this.
I mean, I don't think you can really argue that much with what's here as far as a lot of these are the same guys we see all the time, and then you have guys that have been doing pretty well in MLS, and you can go, okay, let's bring some of these guys on and see what they can do. I just 2 of these games, they're almost afterthoughts. You're only really playing to make sure Panama doesn't beat you in the group. Am I right or am I wrong here? I mean, when are you... I'll be... Okay, never mind. Martinique's actually scared some people sometimes, depending on who they bring and what mood they're in. But, still, this is... I think that we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. We need to give him the benefit of the doubt as far as let's see if he's smart enough to understand that you need your great players to beat Mexico.
You said 2 key things. Number 1, you let doubt creep in even about Martinique. So now...
Just because I remember Martinique from older Gold Cups where they surprise people, but...
Okay, but there's still doubt.
But that's still MLS players 10 years ago were different than MLS players right now.
Okay, and I understand that, but let's go do not approach this from the civil threshold where you prove the better case. We got to do this from the criminal, beyond the shadow of a doubt. You just created doubt. So now, your minimum that you are able to confidently guarantee from the group stage, just from that, regardless, it just dropped from 7 to 5. Big difference, number 1. Big difference number 2. This isn't just about the group stage. This is about you trust your manager to not be a dumbass, go out and beat Mexico. I do not have that with how he is setting himself up right now. And going into the Gold Cup confederation or whatever. I can't have that. Not from Bruce Arena. Not right now. Rachel, or at least, are you with me?
I see both sides, but yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards Erik. I mean, it makes you think too, because what if you don't have those changes in other tournaments? Like, what are you going to do then? Like, are you going to call these people up and then just give it a wing? I mean, deep sigh.
Especially with Bruce Arena's history and what he has said on record.
Thank you.
That matters.
It does. You aren't wrong there. It just, hey, Erik. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they decide to do here. We'll have to see who Mexico brings, because we have to remember they're in the Confederations Cup. And they may decide to rest quite a few people, saying that, hey, there's another Gold Cup we can really try to go after. So, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one you win, you still have to win the playoff.
Exactly.
So,
and given what happened the last time, I don't want to take that chance.
But here's the thing, it doesn't matter which one we won. Both of them are meaningless, because if you don't win the playoff, you don't get into the next Confederations Cup.
Exactly. That's why I want to take care of business and, damn it, win both so I can avoid the playoff altogether.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's what I'm saying.
You know what? We just need to have one freaking Gold Cup and just stop this madness. But, they won't. So.
No, because qualifying is too minimal. Why do you think for the longest time they had a Copa America every 2 years? I personally liked it that way.
No, it's a Confederations Championship. You do it once every 4 years. There is no point of doing it every 2 years.
Well, then you know what? If they're going to do that once every 4 years, then they need to expand it to 16 teams, have a better qualification, and for the love of God, stop the barnstorming crap.
Well, that's not... Copa America does 12 every 4 years. What's wrong with that?
But the reason why they even did it originally every 2 is because you can't have a 10-team tournament. There was no qualification whatsoever, so they had to invite teams, and they still do. I personally don't know why they switched it to once every 4 years. They could have done it on a 2-year system, because
it's to prevent fixture congestion. There's no need to have it for every 2 years. If you just do it one, you don't need to have this playoff, because you have an ultimate champion that goes to the Confederations Cup, and end the story. There's no...
Okay, so again, for CONCACAF, because you have more member teams, if you're going to do it every 4 years, fine. Stop the barnstorming aspect. You have select cities, and then that's it. You have select places for your semifinals and final. That's it. You expand it to 16 teams because you have more time, and you give easier qualifications to your Central and American and Caribbean teams. Done.
I don't have a problem with that. If you want to make it 16 teams, that's fine.
Yes.
I never said I had a problem with that. Go ahead and do it. Please, actually, you know what? It makes it more interesting. Do it. You get some of these smaller countries in here, or you get some of the fringe, the Jamaicas and Guatemalas, and that actually can do some damage, and they might, pull an upset and get to a knockout round and whatever. I mean, so, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's better than doing it every 2 years, and you got this congestion, and you have to do a playoff, and all this stuff just seems unnecessary. But anyway, we didn't even talk about who's actually on this team, but you can go look it up. It's not like you're waiting for us to talk about every single person that's on here. But, pretty much anybody that's has a name and played well, other than Sasha Kleshin, who hasn't played well, in MLS is on here. And then you have the guys that, I don't know why, like Rachel said, Pablo Arreola that gets called in for Club Tijuana all the time. Villafaña, I understand. Joe Corona, I understand. It just, this is also a training session. We'll see who actually makes the 23. But, all right. So, just to get that official number, 32 of the 40 are from MLS, with 16 of the 22 MLS clubs represented.
So basically, if you were considering voting them in as all-stars, then there's a likelihood they're on the 40-man roster.
Yeah, let's see, because you got to drill it down from 40 to 23. But all right, the last thing we got to talk about here is NWSL for the week. Rachel.
Pretty low key week in the NWSL, but one big headline was that Mallory Pugh did score her first goal for the Washington Spirit. They beat the Houston Dash at home and got the win, which was big for Washington because they have not played as well this year. Their record is much better at home though than they are away. So give it to them for getting a win. North Carolina, this was I guess you couldn't really call it an upset, but it was definitely a close match, and it was one that I thought the score was going to be a lot closer. North Carolina beat FC Kansas City 2-0. Very, very surprised about it. I will give Lynn Williams a lot of credit. She had a really great game. And with Alex Morgan injured, she is going to be joining the U.S. women's national team. Another rookie scored her first NWSL goal, Ashley Hatch. I believe she was the number 2 overall pick in the NWSL draft this year. She got her first goal, so there's a lot of firsts here. The Portland Thorns beat Sky Blue FC 2-0. Can't really say that was much of a shocker. Portland has a really stacked team, and Adriana Frank is a great goalkeeper. I'm surprised she didn't get called into camp. But a goalkeeper that did get called into camp was Abby Smith. But Abby Smith and the Boston Breakers fell to the Orlando Pride at home in their brand new stadium that they share with Orlando City SC. And Marta was Marta. She scored a goal, and Jasmine Spencer, the little 4'11" forward for Orlando, continues to still score goals. And last but not least, today, the Chicago Red Stars beat the Seattle Reign 1-0, which essentially was a pretty big game because not only has Seattle done very well this year and have won by large margins, but Chicago Red Stars are now only 2 points away of the North Carolina Courage for first place. And it's a pretty tight race up top in the top 3. Portland sits at third with 15 points, Chicago at second with 16, and North Carolina with 18.
See, I told you, Erik, Orlando would win this game.
Yeah, I admit I had my doubts, but I was proven wrong. It was a very good weekend for Orlando soccer on many levels. That always sits well with me. However, I didn't see anything on Twitter about a certain someone scoring a goal and holding some certain flavor of ice cream. Kind of disappointed in that.
Oh, God. You and the ice cream with Mallory Pugh. That's going to be a thing, I guess.
Another thing of note, though, is that now that, European soccer is finished for the year, Carly Lloyd will be returning to the Houston Dash, and I believe the first time she'll appear for them is after their 2-week break.
Yep, she couldn't come at a better time because Houston has been falling and falling and falling since the first couple weeks.
Literally in some cases.
And they are in last place in the NWSL right now.
Yep, so Carly Lloyd gets to come back and then do she gets to make the super comeback, right?
She does the honors of resurrecting an almost dead team. Yep.
Yep, there you go. See? So how long is the Alex Morgan injury serious, or?
I haven't read too much on it. I don't believe it's that serious. I know she can't travel with them to Sweden and Norway. So she'll be back with the Orlando Pride, just not quite yet. But then again, I mean, they have Marta and Jasmine Spencer holding down the fort. But I can't wait to see Alex Morgan and Marta paired up top together.
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's going to be a dream.
Let's see. I was trying to see if I could find out if they said anything about the injury, but I'm usually when they don't say anything big about it, it's because it's not a big deal. So it's a hamstring thing. So that could be just these 2 games or not.
Yeah, usually with hamstrings, depending on the severity, it's 2-3 weeks, and a lot of that is just precautionary. So
North Carolina did lose a player to a torn ACL though. So
yeah, that looked kind of brutal. I mean, credit to them. They actually did play well, and I wasn't surprised by the 2-0 scoreline looking at the match, but the bounce back could be kind of temporary.
Just hate hearing about that, of players going down for the whole season, like Amy Rodriguez did pretty early. So hopefully we don't have too many of those, and this season going on. So, because Houston Dash, Carly Lloyd's going to come to Houston with a new coach since they let him go and everything. So that should be interesting. How that's going to go on, but it's they still got plenty left in the season to see if they can right the ship. But as far as we go, that's going to pretty much be it for. I should mention that Alex Morgan's Lyon won the UEFA Women's Champions League, so
Woo!
pretty cool honor
Huzzah!
for her there. And Real Madrid won the Men's Champions League again, so when they come and play the MLS All-Star team and get whooped, I guess they can talk about that. Yeah, so until Erik and I, and hopefully maybe Rachael in the midweek, probably going to be a Thursday midweek again, so we can talk about that Trinidad and Tobago game. And is it Sweden they play first?
Yep.
Or is it no? Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So we'll talk about the U.S. women in Sweden, and we'll talk about the U.S. men in Trinidad and Tobago, and we'll know who got to the final of the U.S. or the Under-20 World Cup, which won't be the U.S., but maybe I'll still have Venezuela in the race. So, all right. Until then, we'll see you later, everybody.
Women, I'm counting on you to do well against Sweden while I'm at work. And men, I'm going to be sacrificing Stanley Cup Finals to see you guys against Trinidad and Tobago. Do not let me down. Peace.
What he said.
What she said.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.